up, everybody? Welcome back to the channel. Today I'm going to be recapping the Drifting the Plains 2 event over the June 1st weekend, show you some of the damages that occurred with the car to be able to achieve a third place finish that you see the plaque back there on my wall. So without further ado, we will go through some of that recap. I will also run you through the layout real quick, and I'll touch base on the few adjustments I made prior to the event with the rear alignment of the car and show you those tires that I ran so you can see the difference of the tread wear compared to Drifting the Plains 1. I'll actually start out explaining the layout. So rather than running the track around this way through the sweeper, we ran it backwards. Normally they only run this layout this direction one time out of the year. I don't mind running this layout. It's pretty decent for a run-up, and you can get a nice flick entry and into an outer zone right off the start. So when you're looking at here, they tried out a chicane start to kind of slow down or check up the lead driver a little bit. I really liked that. That was a very good add-in feature for this event. And then you come up straight out here, there's 3 initiation cones. You must be sideways or initiated into drift by this third set of cones. I actually was swinging out and giving a clutch kick here and then diving back into the zone. The cones right here were about 4 or 5 feet off the wall to help change the angle of that wall or that zone a little bit, so it wasn't pushing people into crashing into this wall, because some people did hit that cone. They treated that in judging, if you hit the cones, it was like you were hitting the K-rail or the concrete. They would consider that a wreck in that outer zone. So you'd come through that outer zone and transition into a front inner clip right here. You want to get as close to that as you can without hitting the cone. If you hit that cone, it was actually off in the dirt. So you would be off of the track, and that's not good. You don't want to be off track. You want to get as close to it as you can, because you can run your front tires right on the edge of the concrete there while you're coming through that inner clip. Once you come through that and you're through the power alley, you're going to come to another inner clip. Same thing, there's 3 lines painted on the concrete. You want your tires in those 3 lines. You don't want to hit that cone again, and then you're sweeping around here to an outer zone along the drag strip wall out here. You want to go in the side of the box and then out the side of the box when you are through that zone. Then we reused this cone right here. The inner clip then turned into a rear clip, and you don't want to decel until you are past that. Now with that decel zone, if you hadn't watched my Drifting the Plains open comp video just yet, go and check that out. I was one of the few drivers, if not the only driver, that wasn't actually decelling in that decel zone. I was staying on throttle and adding more angle to be able to scrub speed into that last outer zone in the keyhole, which if you can do that, you're gonna keep way more momentum going through that zone, and you can actually pull a little bit of a gap on the chase driver in that area, and it just looks really cool, and you can really clutch kick into that zone and really start smoking up the tires. My Miata doesn't really burn the tires very much. It's just really hooked up. It is sideways, but you don't ever really see a lot of tire smoke. Coming into that zone, I would light the tires off and it would roll smoke off those tires. Looked really cool, really spectacular, and that's what the judges are looking for. So again, right here was a decel zone coming into this keyhole outer zone and then to a finish. When you look at that, you got 2 really long right-hand corners, which puts a lot of weight on your driver rear tire. So that is the main tire that is wearing through that whole corner, and just you're on throttle, but it's not as much of a load on that tire. And then you come back to a right hand right there, and that weight is all on that driver tire again. So when we look at these tires here, this was the set that I was running on Friday practice. This was my driver tire, this is my passenger tire. And you can really tell that the tread actually wore really even and nicely across here. I got every little bit of tire out of this before it started to shred apart, and it was just showing some cords on this side. This was the chasing tire or the passenger tire. That was actually wearing pretty well and evenly as well with that 1/2 inch of toe in. Now I could make a few more adjustments. I was running maybe 8 clicks on the damper in the rear suspension, so it's still fairly stiff. I can go all the way to 15 clicks and all the way soft so that it really squats and digs in. I don't really have to do that, especially for practice when you're just trying to fill the zones. So I left it around 8, and during competition I bumped it down to like 12 clicks, so it was a little bit softer to try and get as much grip out of the car as I could. I was on this set of 651s and they're almost down there. I don't want to actually like get rid of this tire yet, because I probably at least have 6, maybe 8 laps left on this tire, because the Miata doesn't chew through tires super quick. I'm sure I could get more laps out of that, but I had a little bit too much pressure in the tires and the suspension was too stiff, and I slid into the wall and I actually cracked this wheel. The thing is with that wheel though, it's still holding air, so I don't think that crack is all the way through that lip. I'm gonna try and dismount that tire in just a little bit here and see what it looks like on the inside of that lip, and maybe I can get that pounded back out straight, and maybe just add like a bead of silicone on the inside there if there's any little bit of splitting, and maybe try and get a little more life out of this wheel, because I don't have another one to replace this, and I don't even know if this wheel is still made or manufactured, because that's kind of a bummer. I just painted these before the Drifting the Plains 2 event, so I want to be able to use them more, and I spent all that time and a little bit of money to paint them. So if I can get that to come out and still use this wheel for a little bit, that'd be awesome. Even if it's just a practice wheel and the other 2 I use for competition, at least I can still get some use out of it, maybe. So, well, moving on here. On Friday evening, towards the end of the last session, or I believe it was maybe the second to last session, I threw on another set of scrub tires because I'm trying to just use up some of these takeoffs during practice. It was just a little bit too loose and freed up. So with those loose tires, I transitioned basically full throttle and I looped it in front of a Corvette. And I was actually on throttle coming out of it, trying to fully spin out of the way. And he was right on my door coming through that inner clip, that first inner clip. And there just wasn't enough time to pull out of the way. So my front end was actually lifted up in the air a little bit, and then he was on the brakes because he saw me spin. So his nose went underneath my headlights and I went above, and he actually has a bash bar behind his bumper. So I think that's where his car, or like the front end of his car, was saved because of that. But then my car took a little bit of a hit, and there's now a big hole in the bumper, which is not a big deal. The stock or factory crash structure is still in there and it's fairly intact. There is a little bit of a crunch right on this corner of the core support, but it pushed this core support that holds the hood latch up and over towards the passenger side, and you can kind of tell from right here, it did twist the hood and push that, because I'm trying to push the hood down into the latch so it stays down. And then it also twisted up on this side. So there's a little bit of work to do on the front end to try and straighten that out and get that even back out. We have about, I don't know, 3/8 of a gap over here on the hood defender, and then on the passenger side it is tight. So it pushed it over quite a bit, so that's unfortunate. I should be able to get that straightened out. If I can't, I might be able to just cut that core support off and then shift it over and re-weld it back in position, because I have a welder here. We'll see. Hopefully I don't have to go that far or that extreme. Otherwise, the next extreme after cutting something like that apart is to put a tube front in there and kind of reframe the front. Not the end of the world. I could potentially remove that center latch as well and put hood pins into the car so that the hood sits flat and the core support can kind of just stay where it is. So I mentioned that the last lap on Saturday after competition, I slid into the wall and I cracked a wheel. I also bent up the bottom side of this bumper. The bumper is plastic and it can come back out, but the mounting bracket under here is metal and steel, and that's bent and pushed in. So I'll probably have to take the rear bumper off completely and then cut that steel bracket out. And then last but not least, there is one more little dent that kind of just showed up out of nowhere. I'm not sure what actually caused this little bit of a dent. The material is not kinked, so I should be able to kind of pop it out. And I think from where it is, I believe there's a hole behind the passenger seat where the old factory seatbelt harness used to be, that I can push this out on this quarter panel. So there is kind of a dimple right here in this quarter panel right behind the door now. Not sure where that came from. I'm kind of hoping that it's not because of the impact on the driver's side towards that wall. I hope it didn't shift the whole frame and kind of cause it to buckle. It could have done that, or it could be from this front impact and it kind of twisted everything that way. It doesn't look like anything is severely damaged underneath the car, especially where the control arms mount to the frame rail, but I do need to take some measurements. I know that the core support is pushed up. I'm just hoping it's not pushed back. It did mess with my alignment specs just a little bit at the track because my car was kind of handling funny during competition on Saturday. I also had a little bit of a front end impact in my top 32, which towed out that side of the passenger front just a little bit. I did not adjust it, and I should have going forward in competition, but I just kind of went with it, and that kind of screwed me a little bit as well, because in my top 4 battle, I spun out in the chase and in the lead, which is unfortunate, but I still was on the podium and got that 3rd place finish, as you can tell. Very nice shiny plaque that I now hang in my garage. So I apologize, it's kind of a lot of chit chat to be able to explain this real quick. I just wanted to go over what the car is sitting like right now, and there's going to be a couple of videos of repairs. So if you guys like that kind of content, stay tuned for that, because I'm going to be trying to do some stuff on the front end and the rear end of the car, and we're gonna go over the alignment in the front because it is all out of whack. I'm pretty sure my caster is screwed up on the driver's side again. I fixed that before the season, but now it is twisted up just a little bit. So again, we're gonna fix all of that alignment and get ready for Drifting the Plains 3, which is coming up very soon. I also have a bunch of tires to change because I used a bunch of scrubs. So those 2, plus I have the other one of that, which I might leave that tire on. There's like 8 laps left. And then I have, I think, 4 more wheels over there that have scrubs that need to come off, so I can put fresh ones on as well. I just dismounted this tire on this bent wheel. I don't know if I'll be able to save it. Maybe. It didn't look so bad when the tire is mounted on it, but now when you look at it, I mean, that's pretty bad. And like, I don't know if you'll be able to see in there, but like, it is cracked down in there, but it was holding air, so I don't know if it's going to be able to hold air after I try and fix it, because like, you can see I can see through this crack right here. So it was still holding air with that, so it's sealing on this bead because there's a little bit more of a deep lip right here for the actual like rubber bead to sit in there. Maybe I'll see if I can take a hammer to that real quick and bend it straighter and try and just remount the wheel and see if it'll take it. I don't know if it's going to. If I don't try it, I'm not going to know. I don't want to just toss the wheel out if it's still going to hold air and I'm still going to be able to use it. You know, it's a drift wheel. At this point, it's just gonna take abuse and get the crap beat out of it, basically. So I'm gonna hit that with a hammer a few times, slowly across that whole bend, see if I can get that straightened out a little bit, clean up the edge because it's pretty scuffed up, so it doesn't cut the bead of the tire, even though they're almost dead tires. And then remount on that and then see if it'll seal. So I'll do that real quick. I'll show you kind of a little bit of the hammering of that, and kind of a cringe moment trying to get this thing aired back up. So yeah, hopefully I can get this thing to move a little bit without destroying the wheel. I set it up on a board underneath this foam mat. Okay, yeah, that just split it the rest of the way. I wonder if I can get like a crescent wrench on that and try and twist it. But like, it's pretty solid. It doesn't want to just bend. We'll see. That crack is now twice the size as it was. I'm not gonna mount another tire on that. That's done. Especially now without a tire cage too, because that could blow apart. I'm not looking to get severely hurt. because of a wheel. Kind of a bummer, but again, it is what it is. We'll set this aside. Now I'll have to just dismount the other tire from the other one. These aren't completely dead. I don't want to just get rid of these tires. I could still, like I said, get probably 8, maybe even 10 laps out of that tire before it's completely dead. I just have to air it down to like 10 or 12 PSI to get the real outside edge of that tire used. Thank goodness we finally got those 10-year-old Nittos off of those wheels. They are literally stamped 2014. That is 10 years old. Those tires, like the sidewall, was hard as a rock getting those off of those wheels. No wonder why they felt so greasy, and took almost 6 laps to get warmed up enough to start gripping up. But now I got the nice sticky Accelera 651 Sports, the 200 tread wears on these 16s. With that being said, I'll probably end out this video. I'm not gonna get into the work on the car just yet. Stay tuned for that. It's gonna be a little bit of just grinding on the car a little bit, taking the front bumper off, taking the rear bumper off. I have a bent bolt on the lower control arm on the driver's side from hitting that wall. So there is quite a bit of stuff to do before DTP 3. I have a couple of weekends. We'll get this thing squared away and ready to go. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe.